Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the universe. It's an early morning here for me on the west coast of the United States. My name is Rocken Larry Locken with Palladium Production Express. Excuse me. I've got quite the guest for us today to talk with. Jenny Schiltz, who happens to be an extremely enlightened Reiki master, spiritual channel, intuitive guide, ambassador of light. She deals with elementals. She just does lots of things, and we're going to have a really fascinating conversation today. I'm going to let her do a lot of the talking, but I wanted to welcome you, Jenny, all the way from the Rocky Mountains, which, well, it's time zone over. But welcome to the show, and yeah, you've got quite the fascinating story. I wanted to touch on your growing up a little bit with your grandfather, but then I really wanted to get into the meat of the matter, like what's going on today, and let you just get all that out. So why don't you kind of tell me how your awakening maybe started and how your grandfather influenced that, and what, and then how that transcended into what you're doing today.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I came in very awake. I was very lucky in that way. My early years of childhood, the first 8 years, everything talked to me. The clouds talked to me, the trees talked to me. And I had my grandfather would spend my summers with my grandparents, and he kind of walked me through it. And he would say, yes, this is normal. Yes, you can do this, but you can't tell anybody. Because he was really from that generation of lots and lots of fear around this. Unfortunately, he was an alcoholic. It was like he was truthfully one of those people who didn't allow himself to be exactly who he was. And how many of us are like that? How many of us go through that patterning to where it's like we don't really meet our potential because the fear is greater than the stress to be exactly who we are. But unfortunately, he died right before my 9th birthday. And it was a humongous blow, because what I've come to really understand is, like, not only did he work with me when I was in his presence, but he also worked with me, like his higher self would work with me when I was away from him, to kind of help to keep me grounded, to make it so that I didn't feel like I was so different. And so then when he passed, it was like, boom, I had nobody. And I tried to tell my parents, and it didn't go over well at all. My mom was Catholic. My dad didn't really believe in anything. He was an atheist. So really two different camps. And my mom was like, what you're saying is against the Bible. And my dad was just terrified. So then it was, well, maybe we need to get you a straitjacket so you can see what this feels like. So now imagine being 9 years old and going, crap, the only person in the world who even got me is gone. My parents are now saying this. And then to compound it, my sister's best friend's mother was institutionalized for talking to angels. So you can see the perfect storm that this created in my young little life. So I built a fortress around myself, just completely locked it all away. And I really stopped. I stopped interacting with the elementals. I stopped interacting with the angels. I just stopped. I cut it all down. And then as I got older and older and older, I just thought I made it all up. I just thought, everyone's told me I've had this amazing imagination my entire life. I must have made it all up. So, I went through my years. In my 20s, I had babies, and then I was trying to do, super mom. I was PTA treasurer, and I worked full time. I was still in college. I had 2 babies. I mean, I was that type of person, really trying to live up to the expectations of the white picket fence.
Right.
Which is just, it's a gerbil wheel.
Yeah, and boring to boot.
And I was totally on the gerbil wheel and completely and utterly disconnected from self. So about the year 2000, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And I actually think that began some of my awakening right around that time, to where it was just, I started going, I hurt all the time. Why do I hurt? What is this? What can I do to fix this? But I mean, I was still going very much Western medicine at the time, and really hadn't started searching within. I just wasn't there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it was enough that I had started to say, you know what? I want to move to a farm. I need a purer life. I would love to open up animal assisted therapy and work with kids. And, so as I was kind of, beginning to feel the twinges. So we literally moved to a farm in 2005. And same year, I also got hit head on by a drunk driver, which just completely messed me up. So I wasn't able to work, but what it did was it slowed me down. I mean, it forced everything to come to that present moment for you to get through that moment that day. And it was essential in this process. So I can call that part of the awakening. But as soon as I physically could get back to work, I went back to work and I went back to the rat race. And so it was 4 years after the first spinal fusion that the spinal fusion failed. And it was 4 years later that I had to get my second one because the bone graft had embedded into my spine and sliced the cerebral fluid column. And that was just cook fried done. It was more nerve pain than you could ever imagine. And I spent a summer in a nursing home. And while I was in the nursing home, this person comes in and she said, well, do you want Reiki? And I said, well, what's Reiki? And she described it to me. And I said, sure. At this point in time, anything to fix the extreme pain I was in. Now, the nursing home time was really fascinating because at one point I had a pretty good infection, really high fever. They were trying to make sure that it wasn't going to go to my brain. But I can remember walking the halls of the nursing home and talking to the spirits that were left behind there. And I just remember so clearly there was a guy smoking a cigar in the room and my mom being there. And I'm saying, yeah, don't you see him? And she's like, no, I don't see anybody. And I'm going, but he's here. He doesn't realize his wife is already gone and he's just waiting. And I didn't totally understand it, which now I understand was part of my shamanic initiation. But so, here I am, I'm in this nursing home and this woman offers to give me Reiki. And I could tell her exactly where it was in my body. I'm like, oh, you're working here. And she'd say, well, there's only one way you'd know that. And that's if you're a natural healer. And I was kind of like, yeah, maybe. At the moment, I couldn't even handle my own life. I had, during that 4-year break between spinal surgeries, I had another baby. So at the time I had an 18-month at home. I mean, it was just, life was chaos. Chaos. We couldn't afford our bills. We couldn't afford our farm. We couldn't afford our kids. I mean, it was just this crumbling in. Everything failed. The only thing that stayed was my marriage. I mean, and that's the truth of it. And thank God for that. But it had to fail. It all had to fail. You have to get rid of the identity. You have to get rid of everything that is not accurate for your soul. And that's so painful, but so, so necessary. But what makes it even harder is when we attach to things. What label did we put on it? What identity did we place on something? At the time it was like, we raised our own food and I used a can and I had huge gardens and that really, believe it or not, was an identity. Helping to breed goats and sheep, that's an identity. All of it had to crumble. So after talking to the lady who was giving Reiki at the nursing home, as I jump all over the place with this, she said to me, she goes, you really should learn. She said, if for nothing else, heal yourself. So I did. I started to learn Reiki and it was like, and it was easy. I mean, that's the truth of it. It just came really easy for me.
Wow.
But I still didn't truly connect within, if that makes sense. It was like I could channel source energy through me, this healing, beautiful energy. I could help myself. I could assist others. But there was still a part of me that hadn't quite owned up to my soul, if that makes sense.
You had to really own that before you could start providing that kind of care for other people. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Absolutely, because what can then happen is, then you're relying on other people's opinions. You get on Facebook and you hear someone else's experience, and it sends you into this shockwave of like, but I'm not experiencing that. Does that mean I'm doing something wrong? So you really need to start that process of like, okay, I'm gonna own my experience, whatever it is. And so I was in that process, and I wasn't seeing clients or anything like that. I was just do Reiki on my girls or, my husband, but I really wasn't in service in any way, shape, or form. And I was really kind of lost in all the information that's out there. There's so many multiple realities stacking up right now. And even then, they were stacking up, and it's a question of which reality do you want to be in, which one do you want to feed, which energy source matches yours as to what you are then bringing in. And so I was kind of playing with all this. And then there was one day I dropped the kids off at school, and all of a sudden I kept kind of seeing like a blue eye. I kept thinking, what is this? And I had been opening up a little bit, meditating, and I'm extremely visual. So I had been getting a little things here and there, and I was doing all sorts of stuff to clear up my third eye. One day my husband comes home and I had a piece of Lazul's like taped to my forehead. He's like, what the hell? And I'm like, I'm clearing my third eye. So we had a lot of fun with all this insanity. But I saw this blue eye in front of my face, and I just was like, what is this? And then it zoomed out, and then it was like my grandfather was in my living room, and he's sitting in a chair, and I'm like, Papa, what are you doing? And he's like, it's time. He said, it's time for you to cut your crap. Stop, thinking that you have to go to someone else to connect to your own soul. And he was like, it's time. You need to get off your butt, do your work, and you need to get out there. And he's like, forget everything I told you about not. I still tear up over this because it was a monumental moment. When he said to me, forget everything I told you about hiding who you are. And then it was like, before I could even get a whole lot out, he was gone. And I was like, just dumbfounded. And I kid you not, I cried all day long. And my husband comes home, eyes are red. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, something happened today, and I need to talk to you about it because there's some walls here that are going to come down, whether I really want them to or not. They're going to come down. And when they come down, everything's going to change. And he's like, I don't understand. So I told him about, seeing my grandfather and everything he said. And he's like, he was just really confused and kind of going, oh, hell, what now? And he just looks at me and he says, are you still going to be married to me? I said, yeah. And he said, are you still going to love me? Yeah. And he goes, then what's the problem? And I just started laughing because it was that simple logic that shifted all the fear. And it was, yep, there's going to be core things in my life that remain the same. Everything else can swirl and everything else can go crazy. But his thing was, like, look, if we're still married and you still love me, we'll make it through. We've been through a whole lot at this point.
That's rare. That's rare when you get an accepting spouse like that that's not like going through the same process you are or at a different phase of it.
Yes.
Really, kudos to him. Usually that can, I've seen that hurt a lot of relationships where one person's awakening and the other person isn't going through these same issues.
Yes, absolutely. And, he's very much in his awakening process right now. And I can watch him just get really uncomfortable and cranky as a freaking bear sometimes. And what they've told me to do, they said, can you be the container? Can you be the container for him? Can you allow him to express what he needs to express, feel what he needs to feel without judging it, without bringing it into ego of, you're cranky, it must be me, you must be upset with me. Can you allow him the process without going into that space? And I just, the more I thought about it, I said, God, what if I had, had that on even a grander scale? Because I was definitely met with a lot of resistance with family and friends, and as we do. I was just very lucky I didn't have it with my immediate spouse. But and it was there. That's what they're asking of us now. For those of us who have already gone through it, can we be the container for other people? Can we let them figure it out without putting our views on them?
Getting our egos involved, getting our opinions. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the big challenge right now, isn't it? One of them for us.
Yeah. And and it's very interesting because he's not a spiritual person. I don't think he ever will be, as far as what I may look at as spirituality. But he's extremely connected to nature. He'll go out mountain biking and make himself feel better, and I can see the shifting of his energy field. So I'm like, what he's taught me is that not everybody needs to understand this process. Not everybody's going to care. What they still need, though, is assistance on ways of working with their energy field to move them through. I think where we get in trouble is we want everyone to understand it, but maybe they don't need to.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly where I blew it during my awakening. It's like expecting everybody to be going through it too. So yeah, maybe they don't need to. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like, it's, we all may need math, but some of us will be fine with, addition and subtraction, and some of us need mechanical engineering math. It's
some of us need trigonometry. You're right.
right. Exactly. Right. So, and some are going to use that trigonometry on a daily basis, and some are just going to add and subtract, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's been, very, very interesting. So then after that, after my, grandfather came, it was like walls crashed. They just crashed. And then it was learning how to really work with my energy field to open myself to lots and lots of different beings. And that's when the masters came in, lots of angels came in, different guides at different times. And I really began to start to channel. And it was really interesting, and I enjoyed it, and I blog. And then eventually enough people kept saying, are you going to, see clients? And I finally was like, okay, I'll try, kind of thing. And I just found that it was natural, completely and utterly natural. So then I went and I got my shamanic practitioners. Took me a couple years to do that. And really just, I found a home in it. I love it. I love the earth connection. I love that even though the terms are different, they do bring in a lot of the work with the elementals. And what's been happening is I can really remember being a child and working consistently with the elementals, working with them, and they would show me things, whether it was in the forest or things like that. And it's fascinating because I have, my little one is now 9, and we'll work with the elementals often. And I've got an area in my backyard which is kind of like overgrown and flowers are just everywhere. And she'll say, Mom, see the fairy sitting there? I'm like, mm-hmm. And I try not to guide her, or I want her showing me, if that makes sense, because I don't want to put it on her. This is her journey. But it's definitely interesting having someone so like yourself in the house. I was working with my dad, and he was really helping me release some childhood stuff recently. And she walks in the bathroom and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. And she said, why is your dad here? And it's just like, it's the coolest thing ever when people can see what you do and feel what you do. But she's a testament to like these new kids that are coming in, and they're just amazing.
They're like hybrid jocks and nerds in one. They're both physically gifted, and their brain, they're just, their minds are just so expansive. It's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's been a very, very interesting ride. And now where it's shifting It's really shifting into more of less of the one-on-ones, but more of teaching, you know. And so, like, I've got a class coming out soon on connecting with the elementals, which, you know, we'll go over like who are they and how do you connect with them, and how do you bring their magic into your everyday life to assist you, to keep you grounded into your form, and really digging deep by using all that is out around us.
I think that's a wonderful idea, Jenny. I've never really heard anybody specifically talk about a class for that specific subject for the elementals alone. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Well, and what I've come to realize is the elementals contain the original divine blueprint of the earth. And I mean, they were never part of the separation, if you will, which is why they pop in through portals, through, you know, openings or these pockets. Okay. And when we talk about pockets, this is where we're talking about Merlin and Arthur, and that whole entire genre is a pocket. It's a way to tap into the original Earth. You know, and as much as we talk about the new Earth, the truth is what's happening is we're returning to who we were. We're returning to who we were without any of the DNA changes that we underwent, any of the insanity of our upside down world. So elementals help us tap into the part of us that is in there waiting to come forth. And so what it does is, the way that they've described it is, when we connect with the elementals, it's almost like flipping a switch. And it helps us to bring more of our original divine blueprint in and walk it in this reality, which is how we then change everything. We just change everything. And many are experiencing the dragons. Many are feeling the Morgan Le Fay, Merlin type energy, because it's here. It's here. There's no two ways about it. I was working with dragons just the other day, and it was this red dragon. And he said, you know, may I assist? I said, sure. He popped in through my crown, flew down, out through my root chakra, flew back up, looked at me and goes, I widened your energy channels. I was like, thank you. I mean, but it's that type of stuff that you're like, okay, these guys are here to assist. The dragons have a lot to do with our DNA. So the changing of the DNA, the recoalescing of the DNA, so that the junk parts come in and we're okay. And so when we look at, you know, even the Merlin magic coming in, there's a lot to tap in through here. And so but it all is based on Earth, if that makes sense. It's all based on, can we reconnect to the Earth and to the magic that she holds? And when we look at how much we were disconnected, whether it was through the church or whether it was just an annihilation of a lot of the Earth ceremonies, so whether it's your Druids, your Celtic, you know, shamanism, things like that, there's been such a huge disconnection. All of these energies are coming back in to reconnect us. And many of us are finding we are all over the globe right now. And there's a reason for it. And it's when you're ready and you start to feel that call of like, I need to go there. Well, there's a reason for it. And not only is it because your particular brand of energy, your particular blueprint is needed in that place, but it's almost like you are bringing in an aspect of your soul that was there at that place in that time. So it's, when we talk about, like, whether it's in Mexico, I went down to the pyramids and had incredible experiences, but that opens up a portal into a pocket to tap in and bring in more information from the soul. Does that make sense when I say that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to me, it does. It makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to, I'm going to be taking a group for the solstice next year. And I'm so excited about this because it literally just came about.
And that's that's over the UK.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing it for the solstice, and we're going to go to Avery and Glastonbury Tor and Glastonbury Abbey and then Merlin's Cave. All really heavy code-laden places to where we can begin to, like, almost like a light switch, turn some things on. But I was talking to another practitioner recently, and she said it's very much like there's almost like a clock, and it's like tick, tick, tick. You know, it's like the big changes that are coming are just the clock going, yep, we're one step further, one step closer to really shifting it all. So I'm totally looking forward to that. I don't have a whole lot of information out. I kid you not, it just manifested, and it was within a matter of weeks that it was like, yep, this is doable. We can do this. We can take a group. So, you know, if you're possibly interested in that, just hop on the website, which is jennyschiltz.com, and then add yourself to the mailing list, because you will get information on joining this tour. And it's not going to be just simply going to a sacred site, because most people are, whether they're aware of it or not, are working on ley line type work, working on collapsing timelines. So it's not, I think we can go anywhere and be very unconscious about anywhere we go. But if we walk into a place and we're conscious and we're saying, yes, I want to work with this energy, I want to leave my energy behind, you know, not as in losing a piece of your energy, but your signature behind, to say, yes, there's this piece of the symphony, if you will, is now in place. So if you're interested in that, you know, absolutely join the mailing list. And I think it's going to be really interesting, because there's so much shifting right now, and everything is changing, and it's changing really fast. And when we look at some of the crop circles going on, you can see where it was like right during the eclipse corridor, one of the crop circles was a door. And it was literally saying, go ahead, open that door. Open it. Bring down all your veils. Walk into this world which is full of magic, and really open yourself completely.
Where was that one done at? Was that over in the UK as well?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And then there's one of the latest ones. I mean, I say latest, but recent. It really kind of looks like it's hitting on some of the planet alignments and what it means as far as astrological houses. And it looks like it's like very much the ninth house, which is spirituality and life purpose and things like that. And when you look at these and you kind of see, it's like messages that are leading us, like, it's okay, everybody, start tapping into everything that you are, so that you can really just fully walk your soul on this earth plane. Because it's not about us leaving here. It's not. It's about us walking our soul into this earth plane, and then changing everything around us.
Yeah, it's funny how everybody's got this, well, we're going to leave here, or I long to go home. Well, you know what? This is right now your home. This is what you need to work on fixing and working on. Yeah. It's Mother Gaia in a lot of ways.
And I went through that phase too, of where I was like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel okay here. I'm not okay. I don't fit in. This is not the place for me. The world was scary. I mean, I was telling you before, Larry, where I kind of went through a prepper phase. I had more water and food stored in my basement than you could ever imagine. Thought my husband was going to kill me. But everywhere I looked, there was proof that the world was going to end very quickly. And I would see like, oh, 2014, that's going to be it. It's going to be it. And it never was.
No.
And then I started to see the same articles recycled, new dates. And I'm like,
yeah,
crap. And so then, thankfully that was a very, very short phase, because I think my husband would just been like,
yeah, you'll still see I bet you, Jen, if you looked hard, you would still see some of those articles from time to time from
They're out there.
2014.
They're absolutely out there.
Pop up.
And it's all designed to keep you in fear, because when you are in fear, you're not tapping into your soul. You can't. You cannot hold the two energies at the same time. So, you got to be really careful about what reality you're feeding. And thankfully, I snapped out of that crap, because I really found that the more I focused on what was really wrong in this world, and there's a lot wrong, not denying that, the more I saw it, and the more my vibration dipped, and the more I felt like the walls were giving in, and I wasn't okay. I just wasn't okay. And so then as soon as I started saying, you know what, it doesn't matter, the world's going to end in 2014, because that's one of the things I had read. And I was like, it doesn't even matter anymore. Fine, it can end. And the minute I did that, everything started switching. And I was like, maybe this was part of the surrender process. I don't know. But I can see where, when I get out in the groups and I see the ones that are really still struggling with this, or maybe they're just awakening to the conspiracy, if you will, of this world, and I can watch them and I can just see like, wow, they're just really, really getting ready to go through it, without understanding that there's ways that you can see what's going on and be aware, and not allow your energy system to latch onto it.
Yeah, which it's easy to do. I try explaining to these people that usually when you find and run across that kind of propaganda, what of that is going on in the world is usually happening by the people that are perpetuating that propaganda and accusing other people of it.
Yeah,
that's usually the Alex Joneses, the people like, they're the kind of fascists that want that kind of shit to happen, and they get people hooked in, and people get hooked into the drama of doom and gloom. Is the world going to end tomorrow? Is it going to end next week? Is it going to end on the 30th? Is it going to, and it keeps people in this cycle, and nobody can really say, how could anybody say what fucking date it was going to end? I don't even know if.
I know. Yeah. I mean, and I can even now at this time, it's like, when we look at the future, if you will, everything is still up in the air. It's all up in the air, and no one really knows what's going to happen. But it's
not coming next week.
What'd you say?
I said the rapture's not coming next week. Yeah, nobody does know. Everything's in a.
My schedule's booked next week. It's not going to happen next week. I mean,
of course,
it just doesn't. It just, what it does is it sucks the life out of you. And what I have found to be my biggest ally on this journey is joy and laughter. Those are the two things that can pull me out of whatever crap I'm feeling, is joy and laughter.
You gotta have that, yeah.
Yeah, and we can get really, really serious on this journey, and we can go, oh, well, we have to eat this, or oh, we have to be celibate, or oh, we have to do this, or oh, and it can become another religion.
Yeah, and you could get that going easily. People like you. If you wanted to get one of those going, you could get that going and make sure people are just focused on, the program instead of what they're in it for. Yes. I'm kidding, by the way. I'm saying that tongue.
No, but that is the truth, though. All it takes is somebody with, some spiritual knowledge and some understanding to bring in what works for them, for another person to make that dogma.
No, it's easy. I don't know if you know who Drew Melchizedek is, but he was always saying his issue was he was worried that people would get more caught up in him than his spiritual message he was trying to give. And I thought that was pretty profound. Mm-hmm. I could understand how that could happen to him or whatever.
Absolutely. And it's like, I've told many people before, I'm like, don't ever put me on a pedestal, because I will fall. I'm human. And if you put me up and you put these ideals on me that you think I should have, I will not meet them. I just won't. And then you're going to watch me fall. But instead, if you understand that I have some great abilities, I'm able to tap into a lot of things, and I can use that, and I can share it, and I can guide. I can guide you to your own open door. That's it. That's all I can do.
You can lead the person to water, but you can't make them drink. I'm not trying to quote a lame cliche, but you can give them tools. But one thing, look, I wanted to ask you one thing about Reiki real quick. Just a quick question. Is it dangerous just to, like, if somebody on the internet says you don't even know, says, oh, I'm sending you Reiki, is it, if you don't really know that person and know their energy, could that be bad, or is it just the fact that they gave the intention? Because I mean, I'd obviously rather have it done from somebody like you that knows what the hell they're doing and been through it. But there's a lot of people that'll just say, "Oh, I'm sending you Reiki," and I don't think every single one of them are Reiki masters, or even on the first level of it.
Well, I'd like to throw into this category the people who will ask for a psychic reading in groups, okay? When you start to, and I mean, like, they'll put a picture and they'll say, can somebody read me? When you understand that your energy field is your house, do you let strangers come trampling into your house? What if somebody has bed bugs and they just came walking through your house and just left bed bugs in your house?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Bed bugs. I mean, but here's the thing. Your energy field is sacred. It's sacred. Don't go sharing it with everybody. Don't go opening your energy field to anybody. And there are people who are, they'll say, oh, I'm going to send you Reiki. Well, unless I ask for it, please don't send it, because that's really violating boundaries. I will tell you, when I started opening up, one of the things I said to my husband, I said, well, you know how you're out and about and you'll talk to somebody and you see a movie of their life really quick in your head and you can see what their issues are? And he looks at me and goes, no. And I was like, huh. And I asked a couple more people and they all looked at me like, what the hell? And I realized that I was seeing psychically into pretty much everyone I met. And then I realized how freaking rude. And so I set up with my team. I was like, nope, I don't want to see it. If a client comes to me and wants assistance, I want to see it. Until then, I don't want to go to the mall and peek into someone's dirty bathroom, if you will, or their closet. It's none of my business.
You have that kind of a vision. I can get around people like that, like you said, at a mall, and like take a quick look at them, and then I try to stop my thought because I don't want to judge because I don't officially know, but then I'll start thinking things about their lives and who they may be. So if you let yourself do that, you'll be doing that to everybody. I mean, you could do that theoretically almost to everybody you run into.
Yes. And what I found was that it's a whole lot easier to see someone's darkness than it is to see their light. And when I saw their darkness, I couldn't see their light anymore. So,
that makes a lot of sense because you're right. I couldn't see coming back from that either.
Right. So then once I set it up with my guides, I said, no, this isn't okay. This is actually intrusive. If I am not given permission by the person to see it, I don't want it. And that shifted everything. I used to not be able to go to the mall. I mean, God forbid, the grocery store was hell. I'd go to the grocery store for an hour, I'd come home and need a nap.
But no,
I can't handle all these people. I can go anywhere now. I can go to a concert. But it took putting up those boundaries that I was not walking around psychically reading everybody. I wasn't feeling their physical pains. I wasn't seeing their childhood grief. So instead, I just asked to see them. I just want to see people as people are. And when you see them, even the ones that we could call asleep, you still see their light. And that's what I want from humanity. I want to see the light. And once I switched that, my life got a whole lot more interesting and a whole lot easier to be me.
Do you think humans can be a walking contradiction of darkness and lightness? I mean, in a lot of cases, like, you're talking about seeing their light and opening yourself up to just focusing on their light. But do you think that, yeah, we focus too much on the darkness of people and don't look at their, what they may have done, and or try to really look into their heart despite what anything they may have done?
Yeah. And I think, let me give you a perfect example. So I had a client who had this energy around her that was causing her intense fear of opening up to her life's work, of really, advertising her work, doing a website, that type of stuff. Every time she tried, she felt like hands were on her neck, strangling her. She had gone to other people who were like, oh, it's some type of presence that's trying to stop you. It's the dark trying to stop the light. Well, I get a hold of her and I start looking and I realize, oh, this is past life. And I start helping her to tap into this past life of, she had been an alchemist, kind of work, not only working with metals and things like that, but she was like it was a he, but it was an herbalist in this lifetime. And he was very well known. Things went wrong. He gets killed, but he was devastated that the world turned against him. So here he is. He's still in her energy field. And every time she started to open up and really start to grow, he was like, no, 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 no. Stop, stop, stop. You don't understand how this ends. This ends bad. So in the session, I had the two of them work together and she's reassuring him. She's saying, we're in a different place. We're in a different time. It's going to be okay for me in this lifetime to open up. She finally got him out of her energy field. And it really didn't take that long. And, basically through love and saying, I love you. Thank you for trying to protect me all these years. And it was almost like it was a past life that hadn't properly crossed over. So then we just opened up veils and sent him on his way. And now she's like, okay, I can do this, and got her website done and things like that. So one person who was seeing a lot of darkness saw that as something that needed to be protected against and attacked. Whereas another can look at it and go, oh, I get it now. This is just another human in a different form, yes, but another human who's scared, who had some really crappy things happen to them. And what they needed was reassurance that it would be fine, and that, that they were grateful that, there was this person in the energy field protecting. So it's a totally different way of looking at it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it still sounds very humanistic. You know what I mean? Just coming from another dimension, another reality. Well, how I think that there's a trillion Earth-like planets in our own backyard, and there's humans of different colors and shapes everywhere. But yeah, no, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah. Well, and just yesterday we came back. I'd spent the weekend at a folk festival, and it was just such a neat experience because it was literally like it was so much fun, and it was like right on the river. So like my little one got to tube the entire time, and I just stayed by the river, and music's going on over here, and I'm just taking in the nature. It was like the best way to see a concert.
Very Janis Joplin of you.
What is that?
Very Janis Joplin of you.
Yeah, I was channeling my inner Janis. So, but it was a lot of fun, but, being in a crowd for 3 days can wear on me. So when I got home, I was like, okay, I need to meditate. I just need to be alone. And I told everybody, I'm like, I have to go be by myself for right now. So I go upstairs to my room, and immediately I'm like tapping in. I hear, you need to go to your space. And there's a space that I tap into for a lot of my interactions. And I go in and this room is full. And I'm like, hell, what is this? I kind of wanted a nap. And so, here's my highest aspect. And she said, you understand each of these beings has something for you. Now I want to understand, like dead in front of me looked like the Disney, one of the Disney villain witches from Snow White. And it was interesting because I had seen that alliteration come through in one of my sessions with somebody. So it was like the wicked witch that blew the poison on the apple, right? And I'm like, that's bizarre. She hands me this apple, and I have a basket, and I put the apple in it. But then other beings come up, and some that I knew were past life aspects of me, or even intergalactic aspects. There was, me as a tree, that type of thing. And each one would give me an apple, and I would take a bite of the apple, and then the apple would just kind of dissolve, right? But it was the way that my mind was explaining true integration. So then at the tail end, and it was a lot of archetypes. Okay, so it was like from Wizard of Oz, it was the lion.
I was just gonna say the Wizard of Oz. Where were you when they could have been told they didn't need to take that big long journey down the yellow brick road, and they had all the shit they needed already.
Right.
Could have been there to tell them.
So it was like the cowardly lion, and he hands me this apple, and I just realized I bite into the apple, and I acknowledge, yeah, there's a part of me that's scared to death to do this. Still in there.
Any religious undertones behind that?
Oh, you know it. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I mean, I went to Catholic school for the first,
I was gonna say, girl, the snake didn't start coming around, did it, when you were?
No, I actually didn't see a snake. I didn't see a snake this time, but I did when I was working on healing my sacral chakra. There was absolutely the snake. There was Satan. There was Eve. I mean, it was that whole original sin stuff that had set up in my female organs.
Right.
And so many of us have it. I mean, it's crazy. So, it's like I see all the different archetypes, and I'm working with Mother Mary, who is just one of my absolute favorites. And so when I take a bite of everyone's apple, well, now the apple that was left was the one from the Wicked Witch, right? Or from, it was like Snow White's witch. And I look at it, and it's molding, and it's rotting, and there's like a worm coming out. I'm like, what? And my soul says, you need to take a bite of that apple as well. I'm like, I don't want to. And, and she's laughing. She goes, I know, but you will. I'm like, I know, I will. So I take a bite of it. And it's not like I can actually taste it, but it was still this thought of, why do I have to bite into this apple that's decaying, that's poison, that's the shadow? And I take a bite, and I'm like, okay. And so instead of it like turning to dust like all the others had, it turned into the most beautiful golden light apple ever. And I just look, and I'm like, help me here. I've got goosebumps talking about it. I'm like, help me here. Like, what does this mean? And they said, once you understand, you accept, all of you, all the lives, the good, the bad, the ugly, that's when you get to the light. And it's not just a foo-foo bunny light. It's the light of, I've done it all. I've been it all.
Have you dealt with people that are stuck in the foo-foo bunny light phase?
Yeah, I have. I find that actually ends pretty quickly. It's the harder phase to get people out of is the looking around corners for boogeymen.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Have you found yourself just kind of, because you're doing so much now that really, it's your thing, but I wouldn't advise, go in there with that kind of, that's a lot to come back from when people are in that looking for the boogeyman around every corner, looking for George Soros under every bed. You know what I mean? Things like that.
I do.
Yeah.
It's once someone truly understands their energy field and how they affect everybody and everything, they will then understand why it's so important to keep their vibration high and still be grounded. Because it's not like the fluffy light phase kind of says there's no darkness. Well, I don't know about that. There is darkness. There just is. But where do you want to focus it? And I know that I can affect more people by holding my own light, which is the integration of my dark and my light, than when I was in just the dark phase.
Have you ever sat back and thought, with the knowledge that you have and what you've learned and what you've known, that if you weren't a good person in your heart, that you could really do some damage to people?
And I have in another lifetime. And it took a lot to forgive myself of that. And it's very fascinating because I was shown a lifetime to where I was working with a group of people affecting the ley lines and choosing where the ley lines would be very abundant and choosing where the ley lines would be very lacking. And when we look at, so imagine a river with dams, okay? So if you wanted an area to be very prosperous, economically, physically, spiritually, you would put a dam and you allow the energy to pool, okay? Well, there's people downstream who didn't get crap, and those people will then suffer. The ley lines are supposed to be open throughout the entire earth, but things were done, and I was absolutely shown a life. It really felt probably 16th.
Did it feel Atlantean or Lemurian times, maybe? Or
I'm not sure. It really felt more, I don't know. I keep really wanting to say 16th century.
like where you feel like maybe in that time you had kind of the knowledge you do now, but you feel like maybe you had more of an ego about it, or you just weren't aware and you just wanted to accomplish shit. And
Absolutely.
you know more now in this lifetime than then.
Well, I think what it was is when I really, and this was how it helped me to like forgive myself and to move past it. There was parts where we, and I say we, it was a whole group of us, really believed we were acting in the greatest good without
Trying to interfere with free will, or, you know, I mean, kind of, I feel like I was stuck in that too. Like, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Right. And, you know, and it's so interesting because like along those lines, last night I'm in my head and I'm talking and I'm kind of going, you know, there's things going on around me to where I really wish that I could make the absolute perfect thing for things, particularly with my children. You know, I mean, I'm a mama bear, and I would love for things to be perfect for them. And I asked the question, I'm like, but if this life is my creation, why can't I tap into their absolute highest expression in my reality? Okay, so like, why can't I tap into the timeline to where things are going great for them, the highest timeline? And the answer that came back was just, it was so fascinating. And it was, you can. You absolutely can. But it's with the understanding that sometimes the absolute highest and best thing for somebody doesn't always look pretty. And when you remove the judgment of how something looks, you can then say, getting hit by the drunk driver was the best thing that ever happened to me. I've got my middle one is suffering from concussion from playing lacrosse in college, you know, and I can look at that and go, it's her experience. What that's doing is it's pulling her away from sports and it's putting her more back into really accessing the earth with animals and plants. So if I step up here, I can see it, but the mom right here kind of goes, but that's not what I want for them. I want the perfect life for them. But that in itself is not understanding that part of the pain is part of the journey to get us to that perfect spot. And once we can step back and say, it is all happening perfectly, then you tap into the highest possible timeline. Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it's interesting. Your daughter's a college lacrosse player. Is she gotten hurt doing it? Is that your concern? Is it we don't have lacrosse out here. I've only seen it on TV. You got to understand. So what I'm saying is it vicious? Is it a vicious sport?
Vicious. It broke her pelvis when she was a freshman in high school. She recovered from that, went on to play baseball in college, then messed up with that with a shoulder injury. Then she went to play college lacrosse and then got hit in the back of the head and still has concussion syndrome. So her sports career is done, like done. And it's, for her, it's very fascinating because we were out camping and she's sitting in my tent and she says, I don't know who I am anymore. She was like, you know, you never pushed me with sports. Trust me, I did not push that child. I didn't have to. She was nuts. And she said, but it was me and it was easy and I was good at it. And she's like, and now it's all gone. So how many of us can say the same thing, whether it's a marriage, a job, a death, you know, it all falls apart and we sit there and go, I don't know who the hell I am anymore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it doesn't seem to matter what age. I mean, whether your college daughter or somebody that's in their 50s, or I mean, this shit happens, and people are thinking this, you know. And I just don't want people to get too down. You know what I mean? Because life on all kinds of crazy. I mean, regardless, even the most unawakened person, I think, would agree with life can take you on a crazy journey, and you don't know where it's headed. You know, and yeah, I'd rather see her you know, her do her thing, but not get real fucked up playing sports. And
precisely.
Yeah, I felt the same way with my boys. They played football, or one of them did, but I was glad when he finally graduated, because I don't watch the NFL anymore, and I don't like the violence of what's happening to the brains of these people playing it. I think that hopefully will evolve one day, and I'm going to get hated for saying this, but football is fucking dangerous. Flag football, fine. Yeah. But if you're hitting each other, it doesn't matter how good these helmets are. The initial shock comes from the swing of your head when you get hit with that concussion. It's not what goes to your, I mean, that initial hit that a helmet can't help. And I just think it's the perfect storm that in a generation or two, maybe we'll be playing soccer or something instead of that during that time of year.
Yeah.
I know, hon, I'm getting off topic, but I just feel that way because I worry about our kids playing football, especially considering these CTE scans coming out. And, you know, lacrosse is dangerous too. You can bang heads. I mean, hockey, but.
Well, and the boys wear helmets and the girls don't.
Why? That should be mandatory for all.
No, girls are special little flowers. And if they wear a helmet, then they might actually get hurt. And I keep going. I've raised nothing but girls, and girls are girls are
helmets, they might hurt. That's real logic. That sounds like good logic. Yeah.
It is literally what they had said was that there's no helmet because then it could be at the boys level, which is very aggressive. But what that underlines is the fact that lacrosse is aggressive, period. And so really the girls are, they're just.
Girls will fight. Girls will fight. I've seen them drop the gloves and go in hockey. I mean, you know, it'll happen. It isn't.
Yep. And it's very interesting because it's like I've tapped into one of her past lives, which was really very much like Athens, Greece, that, you know, have to like almost like that Sparta type spirit. And I think that's why it just comes natural for her. I mean, she's the type of kid who, like, she didn't start playing softball till 10th grade and then got a college scholarship for it. So like it's natural. And it was easy for her to do. What's difficult for her to do is for her to slow down and, you know, really just be still. It's difficult for her. And I don't know. It's going to be an interesting ride because when I watch her with animals and plants, and I'm just going, holy cow, kid. I mean, she's got probably like, I think she told me her latest count is like 40 plants in her apartment. And she's like, they're all my friends. They all heal me. And I'm like, okay, so you don't have sports anymore. So now we're moving into a whole different way of being. So it's really neat. It's neat. And yet at the same time, I had said to her, I said, if you hadn't have gotten this really bad concussion, would you still be playing? And she said, I would play until I was paralyzed. And I was like, all right, now I understand. I understand why everything had to fall apart for you. Because it was the only way the spirit can say, hey, kid, you're comfortable playing sports because you've had the lives with that. But now we want you here. We want you over here. And we cannot have both with you. Because when she gets involved in something, it's 110%. So, you know, but the mama in me saying, but she hurts. But she's struggling. And I don't want her to struggle. So it's very fascinating because it's like, there's the two sides. There's the human who really can see, wow, there's some really difficult things going on. And then there's this other that comes in and says, now see where it's pushing her. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds calming. I like that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we look at just, some of the insanity, I mean, the stories among so many of us in the 2000 and onward is like, bankruptcies and job losses and major health concerns. You see it across the board, and all of it is designed to, can you be still? Can you connect to your soul? Can you really undo all the programming? Because I'm telling you, I would probably still be caught in that rat race of 9 to 5 and not really living the life of connection that I have now. So it had to fall apart. It had to.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. It makes me think of a song by Linkin Park that says, I had to fall to lose it all. And I used to hear that song before I awoke, and then lost a $100,000 a year job and went into a coma and had an awakening. And
yeah,
isn't it crazy?
I mean, it is. And there's so many of us with these stories of just major stuff. I mean, but I knew when I was in that nursing home and I had the high fever, and was just doing my best. I mean, it was one of those things where they didn't understand why I was walking, because the bone graft had embedded so far in, and after the surgery, they came out to my husband and said, well, we got her toes moving. And he's going, oh, holy hell, I didn't even know this was even a possibility that there was no toes moving kind of thing. As he's thinking, I've got 3 kids at home and one's 18 months. And I lost my point. I'm very good at that. And so, it was one of those things where it was like, I saw in the nursing home as I was walking around, I was like, I saw the angels come up to me and they said, you have a choice. You can go if you want to go, or you can stay. But if you're going to stay, here's what we want. And I remember thinking at the time, it had to have been the painkillers. It had to have been the Lyrica.
Morphine or whatever they had you on, yeah.
It had to have been that. And then
that Lyrica really got to you. Ooh, that stuff will really go. Shit, that'll make you go to the moon and back.
It did. I mean, it did. And when I moved from Maryland to Colorado in 2012, got off all pharmaceuticals slowly. It took me about 18 months, by using marijuana. And I was using the tinctures, and I got off all the pharmaceuticals. The detoxing process, oh my gosh. I mean, I would just be drenched in sweat, and it would just reek of chemicals from all the pharmaceuticals that they had put me on, whether it was antidepressants or muscle relaxers or the painkillers. And I mean, it was really quite a process, and I'm not on anything anymore.
Are you saying almost like when you would take that stuff, could you almost like feel it and smell it through your sweat?
Yes. It was gross.
Yeah.
Absolutely gross.
I've been there, and it's not quite as gross. About 25 years ago, when I was in high school, my last 2 years, I also was a closing manager at a McDonald's and worked overnight. And so I was using for 2 years a lot of methamphetamine, and man, it would stink coming through my body, like in the sweat. It was disgusting. So I'm kind of envisioning that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was gross. I was like constantly changing the sheets and things like that. Just like, ooh, why does my bedroom stink? But it's like, and we can hear methamphetamines and think, oh my gosh. But then you look at Ritalin and go, it's the same exact ingredients just about. So how many of us are on, pharmaceuticals that are changing, altering chemistry, and we need to detox off of them. And now, having said that, let me say this disclaimer. I did the dumbest thing in the world because I had done the detox off our pharmaceuticals, went very holistic, and it was working great, and I was feeling good, and I was like, this is the way to go. Western medicine is crap type of thing, right? Well, so then I get this chest cold that just goes wrong. And I am, doing ginger tea and doing all this stuff and taking everything that the, Whole Foods was saying to take. And I'm just progressively getting worse. So about 3 weeks in, my husband's like, if you don't go to the doctor today, I'm taking you to the ER. You have no more options. I had full-blown pneumonia, full-blown pneumonia. And it was a very powerful lesson because I had to learn there's nothing wrong with Western medicine as an option as long as you don't give your power over. And that's the problem with a lot of with Western medicine is we say, oh, well, they must know better than us. And then we discard what our body is screaming at us about. But Western medicine isn't the devil. I mean, it can be very, very beneficial. And I think the combination of Western medicine and Eastern medicine and listening to the body and really tapping into it is our path to health.
Bingo.
And if we go either way, it's no different than, it's duality. If you think Western medicine is your only way, you're stuck in one end of duality. If you think Eastern medicine is the only way, then you're stuck in another end of duality. But if you can open yourself to all the possibilities and say, okay, the best one that's for me, let it come forward.
Yeah, it's kind of like either believing in creationism or evolution and not realizing that really in one form or another, they go hand in hand. And sometimes the doctors really don't know what the fuck they're doing. I've been to doctors before that have had to look up in a little on their laptop or a little book of what medicine to get. I mean, they really don't, a lot of them don't, they're so burnt out after paying all their student debt and all that shit and going to college. They really don't, I don't think they keep up with shit. A lot of general practitioner doctors.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And then, my sister's a physician's assistant in a busy ER in Maryland, and she is very limited on what she can say. She may know of a supplement, an herb that would assist and cannot say it.
Right. Oh, exactly.
So they're bound, and but if we vilify them, that just creates more problems. I think
it does, because they didn't create the law or the system. Okay. I mean, they're not. Yeah, exactly. We're really going the wrong direction by taking it out on solely them or really even them, period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Instead of looking and going, okay, where did I give my power over? Whether it's me personally or collectively, where did we give our power over? Where did we, allow people to take rights with us they didn't have? And it was all because we couldn't trust our own selves. So it all comes back, no matter what, it all comes back to self. It always does.
God, it really does in the end, doesn't it? I mean, it does. It's looking in the mirror time, basically.
It is, absolutely. And these energies, this eclipse corridor, that's what it was all about. It was all about, can you stop your crap? Can you let go of your self-abuse? Can you let go of your victimhood? Can you let go of even the delusions of grandeur? Can you let it go? Can you just be? Can you connect to your own genuine soul and let everything else fall apart? Because the truth is when you're on this path, and the pain of not being who you are, the pain of not being completely authentic is so great that everything else, you're willing to let it all fall. It has to.
Yeah. And, and especially some people that are going through crises, like maybe they feel like they need that they need a sexual change, or they need, they need to be, there's certain things in their life that they need to be who they need to be. And I think we stigmatize that a lot, but if a person's thinking what they need to be and they feel that way for a long time, it's like, who is anybody to tell them, that that's not right, or, you can try to guide them, but if you're guiding them out of your own opinion, it's not really a good thing either.
Right. I had a client come to me. She had a breast augmentation, and she was like, I'm really just wondering, I get a boob job. I got bigger boobs now, but now I'm wondering, did I make a mistake? Is it not spiritual? And I'm like, are you happy? She's like, yeah, she's like, it was something that bothered me my entire life. And she's like, I love it. And I love how I look. And I love how I feel. I'm like, how, then how can that be judged? How can it be judged? Do you?
Exactly. How could that be judged? And what kind of spirit would judge that? No, nothing on a high etheric level would judge somebody doing something like that or really even care. I
Right.
don't think.
Yeah. It's just, especially when you tap into, if we say, well, that's not very spiritual of you to get a boob job, so sorry, that's, you're too attached to the body, or you're too attached to your looks, and then throw all this guilt on them. How the hell is that spiritual? Like, that's what doesn't make sense here. Is that
It,
there's these dogmas that people want to play into. That's nothing more than religion.
it's American ideology, ideological, nearly white Christianity, basically. I,
Right.
I see in the South, parts of the Midwest,
Mhm.
even up here. But yeah, it's a judgment thing. These people don't even think life came from other planets, or that the Bible doesn't mention anything about extraterrestrials. This pastor told me. I said, man, it's whatever. Even if you bought into that bullshit, it is loaded with fucking stories of people coming here that weren't from Earth. So whatever. I mean, that's the thing.
All right. But I tend to look at everything as a video game. I tried to explain this to my husband. His eyes bugged out of his head, and he was like, "Oh hell," um, and I kind of see it as a video game. It's kind of, think about Pac-Man. There's different levels. There's always going to be the ghosties that are going to try to stop you, and I see the ghosties as like beliefs, fears, dogma, that type of thing, rules, regulations. They're always going to be running around trying to get you. And your job is to get through the level, go to the next level, and just keep on going. And leave the level 1 ghosties behind as you're now at level 13. And just keep going.
They're going to get quicker and quicker, so you need to get quicker and quicker. By
That's
the way, that's the only video game I would play. I've never been a big video game fan,
I love it either.
but Pac-Man rocks, though. I'd
Pac-Man and Frogger. That was about it.
Frogger, then me too. Frogger, Pac-Man, maybe a little Donkey Kong, but Pac-Man, it's true. The ghosts keep getting quicker and quicker, and the only thing that changes is the berry that you're trying to eat. But
Right.
really, yeah, but they do get quicker and quicker, and you've got to adjust, and it's always there.
And you just up your game. And I mean, I know that there's things that happen. A great example, my husband just recently quit his job, and he's going out on his own. So when you think about two self-employed people on like that human level, it's like, it's terrifying. It's like, oh my God, are we going to survive? Oh my God, we had bankruptcy before because of health stuff. Is this going to happen again? There's all this churning. A year ago, he tried to do it, and I was so worried. He said, okay, he's like, he got offered a job as a project manager. He said, I'll just take that. We'll see how it goes. And then this year, he decides, I'm going out on my own. And you know what? I'm okay. I know full well we're going to be fine. However it looks like, we're going to be completely and utterly fine. And when I look back at the year, it's just 1 year. That change, I cannot even begin to tell you how huge it is. And it's more of, I just trust it's going to be okay. It doesn't mean that there isn't stress, because there can be some stress, but it means at the tail end, it's all going to be fine. It's all going to work out. So if everyone can just use something like that as a barometer, maybe it's, what would have happened 2 years ago if your car broke down? Would you have lost your mind over, a $4,000 repair? And now you're kind of going, somehow, some way, the money's going to come and it's all going to be fine. If you can look back and you can see that type of change in yourself, you need to pat yourself on the back and go, yep, I'm growing. Yep, I'm doing great. And even whether it's a relationship thing, where somebody could have said something before and it would have triggered you and you would have stewed in it for 3 weeks. And now you're like, whatever, like that's them. I cannot change them. I'm just going to do me. That is humongous growth. And I think that we get so lost in the day-to-day process, we don't take a moment to say, holy crap, I've changed. I've worked really hard to be the person I am right now. And actually, that's not even accurate. It's not that I'm working hard to be who I am. It's I'm working hard to get rid of all that I'm not.
Ah, that's a beautiful way to put it.
And then I just allow myself who I am truly, I allow myself to be.
Wow. I mean, really, you've had a long journey to get there, and
No.
yeah.
And you know what's funny is sometimes when I hear people's stories and the physical pain and things like that, I have to sit back and go, wow, I had that too. But it feels like another lifetime ago. And maybe that's when you know you've healed it. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I went to Hanging Lake. It's an incredible lake that's at the top of a 1 mile hike up. And it was vicious hike. And I was hurting on the way up, but I knew I had to get there because I've been working on activating sacred waters. And so I did a ceremony up there and then activated that entire area. And then I activated the Colorado River as well. And then that night, I mean, my foot was turned out and my foot was dropping. I couldn't, like, the brain would no longer communicate because the spine was so inflamed that the leg just wouldn't, it just wouldn't. And it was ridiculous. It was like I'd walk and I'd trip because my foot wouldn't lift. So it's not so much that, you know, my physical journey is 100% done, but I couldn't do that hike 2 years ago. I tried and I did it. So it's not that everything gets 100% better. It's just that how you view it and how you move through it changes.
So as long as you're moving, if you're moving onward and upward, you're in the right direction.
Right. And sometimes we have to move sideways. And what I mean by that is, like, you may have a pattern of self-sabotage, but it's always been the pattern with maybe spending too much money. Okay. And you don't seem to be able to move upwards with it. And so then they'll move you sideways. And then you'll see it. You'll see the pattern of self-sabotage, but in a different way. Because before, maybe you viewed it as, I just have a shopping addiction. I just spend too much money. And now you have to see, oh, wait a minute. I'm not doing the health things I should do either. And so then you move sideways to see all the ways that you self-sabotage. And then once you take all those aspects of self-sabotage, you merge it back into one, you heal that, then you move up. So there are some sideward movements.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was always thinking backward or forward, but yeah, the sideways theory, or
Yeah.
the reality of it, it sounds very resonating to me, and I hadn't thought about that. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah, because I mean, we tend to be very tunnel vision and we see our crap from one perspective without understanding the deep patterning, because our patterns are they're not very detailed. So like a pattern of self-sabotage can look like so many ways. It could be, that you can't maintain good relationships, working like coworker relationships. It could be that you can't be told what to do by a boss and how that sabotages you. I mean, it could be how you eat, how you, what else are you doing health-wise? It can be so many different things, but we tend to zero in and see only one thing. So then life has to show us, okay, you've seen this one. You've seen now that you self-sabotage yourself because you'll want to go do something that'll open and expand you, but then last minute you cancel. Now let's look at all the other ways you self-sabotage so we can truly heal the broad pattern. So it really gets interesting. And once you notice that, oh, the underlying pattern is this, you'll move so fast through the others, you'd be shocked. It just takes acknowledgement.
Wow. There's a lot of things running through my head right now, but I'm thinking, the acknowledgement is the big key, I guess, to start with.
Well, yeah, I mean, because if nothing will move from you, nothing will change until you've seen it from every angle. It can't.
Kind of from a 30,000 foot perspective, or up in the air, just seeing the whole picture.
Right, right. And then really being accountable and going, yep, there's my self-sabotaging aspect. And it's funny because there was something on Facebook kind of talking about owning up your own crap, and I'm like, yeah, there is a part of me. I called her a twit. I said, there's a part of me that's a twit and always is scared to death to do things. And somebody kind of responded like, oh, you're manifesting that. You're talking about yourself that way. I'm like, I'm not manifesting anything. I'm owning it. I know there's a part of me that's scared. And so I can either deny that part, or I can say, yeah, there's a part of me that's scared to death to walk into All I Am. There's a part of me that's scared to death to take this England trip and to offer these classes to groups. I'm scared. And that just tells me that there's just that part that needs to be held a little closer, a little tighter, loved a little bit harder for her to be okay. It doesn't mean I allow that aspect to stop me. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Also, too, it shows that we've still got things like that to think about. Besides, like, some people get caught up in the typical, oh, I just live in the now moment. I mean, I use that word a lot too, the now moment, because it is all we have. But yet, there's still these stresses that we've got coming up. You're thinking about your trip to Europe, and everybody's still got things to think about, like bills and things of that nature. And so it's one thing to say, oh, just live in the now moment, but those future now moments soon come.
Right. And it's kind of one of those things like I have to pay my bills. I'm paying them for I'll do my bills here pretty quick and it'll be for the month of September. I'll get everything lined up. If I'm just in the now moment, then would I future plan? So there has to be balance with the now moment.
Yes, exactly. If you have balance, it can be a wonderful thing. But if you were just like, oh, well, fuck, I'm just thinking of the now moment. So am I going to plan to even plan my bills out for September?
Right, right. Or, I even heard somebody who had done something to, it wasn't in their highest interest to do it because it was just complete self-sabotage. And, and it's been a repeated pattern, at least, 5 or 6 times where it could be noted. And, the person says, well, all I can do is be in the now and just, love and forgive the one who does that. Well, that's accurate, except that past, that you're referring to was yesterday. So you still have to deal with it because sometimes we'll see where people will say, I'm in the now moment, therefore my past doesn't exist. That's not accurate either. Because if the underpinnings of why you do what you do are still there, you could be in the now moment now, but this next now, you're going to mess yourself up again. So it is a really fascinating thing. It's like we have to deal with the past and own it. We have to deal with the future. And we also need to be present.
Yeah, hence the big key to master all three at once, right?
Right.
And you're working on it, though.
I'm trying.
You're going to have a PhD.
1,000 balls in the air. But, really, it's just an amazing time with that, though. And we are being given so much assistance, more than I've ever seen. And it's not, just me, because I'll tap in with other friends or practitioners and I'll be like, hey, are you noticing how fast people are moving once they're making that commitment that they're no longer going to put up with their own crap? The shifts are huge.
Yeah, for new people that come in like that, they're thinking that way, they're getting rid of that old paradigm. It's moving quicker and quicker.
It is. It is. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I love it. I love it. I cannot explain to you how great it is to work with somebody and see the growth, And a lot of times they don't see it because they're in it. You know, it's like they're
Right.
like, oh, I'm still in the shit. I just can't see it. I'm like, and I look at them and go, I just wish you could see through my eyes. I wish you could see what I'm seeing with your energy field and the shifting and the changing and just all the assistance that's coming in. So, I mean, it's just it's an amazing, amazing time. And whoever's ready, they're just they're just moving so quickly. You know, we still have lots that are not ready, but even that's going to begin to change.
Yeah, I think it'll start to steamroll at some point. We've been talking about like that, or I have for years, that it's gonna at some point maybe hit this groove where it really starts to steamroll over the population.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, eventually, whether that's in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, eventually, I think that that's going to happen. It may take a year, it may take a generation, but you know, I mean, I'm within our lifetimes, the whole paradigm is going to really change within this world. Especially, you know, definitely our children will be a big part of it too.
Well, I gotta tell you, I was like I said, I was at that the bluegrass. There was that folks bluegrass festival over the weekend, and there was like this princess booth. And it was all the little stuff, and there was this unicorn thing, and it was you could put it around your head, and it had like a unicorn horn thing. And I saw this little girl, and the dad was putting it on her, and she goes, Dad, do you believe me if I tell you I see unicorns? And I just, you know, being nosy, and I'm kind of listening, and I hear him say, yeah. And she said, how come other people don't see them? And he said, one day the world will be ready again. And I just thought, oh my God. Oh my God.
Brilliant.
Right? Like this is it's changing. So
Yeah, typically in the past, you might have heard that question asked, and a parent just shut down the child, like, "Oh, that's just make believe," or "No, I don't," or you know, some generic answer to just try to get off the subject.
yep. And yeah, I mean, because I was at the salon, and there was a little one who came in. Mom was getting her hair done, and dad was bringing in the little one, and the little one said that she went to the zoo that day. And I mean, she was maybe 3, 4 years old, and you know, the mother goes, "What? You know, they didn't tell me at daycare you were going to the zoo." And she goes, "Yeah, and I got to ride an elephant." And the mom was like, you need to be grounded. You're a liar." And it's just that really kind of hit me, because I remember being like that kid. Whereas what that little one really needed was, really, you got to ride an elephant? Where'd you go? What did you see? And throw the solid concrete reality out, because that kid could have laid down at nap time and gone to the zoo and rode an elephant. You don't know.
Yeah, and we have a habit of shutting kids down whenever they say anything unique like that, and it's just disturbing, especially in past generations. It's been really prevalent.
Which is why, you know, when I see like what I saw over the weekend, I'm just excited. I'm just excited, because these children will grow up and have children of their own. And when I look at, you know, whether it's awakening or awakened parents are having these exceptionally high vibrating children, and then when you think about their offspring, and you're like, this is going to change the world, because these kids are going to, they're not going to lose touch with anything. You know, they're going to keep it. They're not allowed to shut down. I mean, it's not going to happen. And we were walking yesterday, and there was this really weird tree. I should have snapped a picture of it. And it had these long bean pods, and my little one says, I want one. I said, you gotta ask the tree if you can have one. And so she comes back, and she's like, tree said no. I'm like, okay, well then you need to respect that. And I said, she was like, well, but I really want one. I said, ask why it said no. And the tree basically said, it's my baby's. And so then my little one comes up to me, and she goes, Mom, can we plant it if I take it? Can we plant it and try to grow the tree? I said, sure. And so then the tree let her have it. And, you know, it's like you think about that exchange right there, and you're like, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for acknowledgement. If you want a rock, ask. If you want a flower before you pick it, ask, let it know. And then once we bring that, consciousness into everything, that's when things shift.
Yeah, when we realize too that these trees and flowers, especially like the trees, these are enlightened, ascended beings, or beings, elemental beings in them. I mean, it's amazing. And I could see that. I could see a tree telling her that, no, those are my babies.
Right.
Like something else, like a cat or a dog protecting their pups or their kittens.
Absolutely. And then you can also see how many people would pass by that tree and just yank it. And because they were these long pods. I've never seen anything like it. And so I could, you could just totally see how, the tree's saying, but those are my babies. Those need to drop and they need to, grow my children. And then you've got people who aren't thinking coming by and going, oh, that's neat, and just popping it off and then going 10 paces and throwing it on the ground.
Yeah, that it just really speaks to the low consciousness of some people. That kind of thing right there that irritates me. That not just that people are like that in the way that they think. It's just like, oh well,
Well, and it's and then at the same time, it's kind of understanding like you don't chastise a 6-month-old for crawling when you're walking. It's just kind of going, okay, this is where we're at, and let's just do our best to be, aware and do our best to teach, but with kindness instead of chastising. Because I've seen that too. I've seen where, someone can be very conscious of, maybe it's, a bug, and then really, chastising someone else for stepping on the bug instead of going, hey, have you ever thought that maybe that bug has, a life and has its own, it's fascinating because we're going to watch this change and these kids are going to lead it. They're going to lead it.
It's funny you mentioned the bugs. It's my awakening, right? Like I used to be one that would like sit around with a fly swatter and on a summer day want to kill a million flies. I can't. I don't. I mean, I may shoo them away, but I don't. They've got a life. It's like I don't even feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable swatting at one anymore. Even.
Yeah, my husband killed one the other day, and my 9-year-old let him have it. She was like, Dad, you don't need to kill it. It did nothing to you. Stop it. And I'm just watching going, yep, this is going to shift everything. And it's not that I've been running around saying to her, hey, you can't kill this or you can't do that. It's that I'm not shunning her or shaming her for having those beliefs. And
yeah. I like have regrets about doing it, about killing, like going on binges and killing 10 or 20 of them in a day years and years ago. And I just, God, I mean, why that was it was so unnecessary of me to do. And I think about it now, and sometimes I guess we do need to forgive ourselves for things, but it's
absolutely, because it's really one of those things, when we know better, we do better. And we can't, I mean, how many times have we been told flies spread disease?
Yeah, that's true.
So, it's kind of one of those things like, and that was one of my arguments with my husband. He's like, they're dirty. And I'm like, are they really? I mean, maybe they are, but no more than us, but that's the, information that he has had, and therefore he acts accordingly. So until that shifts within him and it changes, and then, he has a 9-year-old who yells at him, and then that will make the shifts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I do. I get what you mean. I mean, it's been a great conversation all the way through.
It has been great. Can't believe it's already been an hour and a half.
Yeah. Do you have anything, hon, you want that? Like, I want to make sure we touch on a lot of things, or not. I mean, not everything that you need to get out. Is there before we start to kind of wind it down, is there anything else that you want to promote, talk about coming up? I know we gave out your website, jennyschiltz.com, and we'll put that in the link too, as far as the description of this show, which will be available on the YouTube channel, and it'll be available on a myriad of Facebook places. So if people missed it, yeah, most of the viewers will come afterward. because it'll be on YouTube and it'll be on Facebook and all that. But I was just wondering if there's anything else that you'd like to promote. Say,
I've got the big elementals, a 6-week class coming up, and this is a combination of online work and in person, and not through Skype or through Zoom, actually. So what it is like, you learn on your own. We get together weekly for 6 weeks. We talk about the lessons and the exercises, and it helps you to shift some of your thinking and help you to open up with all the exercises. So that's coming up. That actually starts October 9th. There's early bird specials running on that one right now. I'm going to have coming out on September 9th, which is the new moon, all the information on the England trip that is going to be taking place next June. And the reason why we have to get this going now and get deposits in right away is because you order your Stonehenge tickets in October. And what we're looking for is having an hour of private time within the circle of stones. So, which is just, how exciting is that?
Yeah, so, it is, and I bet it's not as easy to get access to as you would think, huh? I mean, you've got to plan it out.
Yeah. And with the hotels and everything and it all has to be planned out pretty far in advance. I mean, I'll be paying out deposits come October. So that's why we're like moving,
like quick. Okay.
Right. So it's going to be quick. And then, people have the deposit and then they have almost 2.5 months to then pay off the rest as far as how we're getting everything rolling. But it's really exciting. I'm combining with somebody who's been doing trips for 12 years. And she's really excited to combine with someone with a shamanistic background and who does, ley line work and things like that, just because of the way that the energies of the sacred sites are changing. They're really changing, just like everything else. Everything is ascending. So, I think it's a great partnership. That literally came up because I posted on Facebook that I have been working like crazy with the dragons and Merlin, and somebody said, well, you need to come to the UK. And I said, one day I'm going to lead a trip for the solstice. And she literally said, I've been waiting for you to say something like that. Let's combine forces. I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is craziness. But that's what these energies are doing. They're lining things up and giving people the opportunity to either jump or not.
Right, and you mentioned that they're helping with DNA as well.
Yeah. You mean as far as the dragons?
Yes, ma'am.
They are something. And they're also very elemental. So, I tend to be in like a water sign, but then my moon is in fire. And sometimes that moon gets really a lot for me and I'm almost too fiery. And so then it's like I have this water dragon. He's just gorgeous that will come in and really help me to tap more into my water and emotions, the truth behind the emotion instead of maybe anger. Or maybe it's that gusto of getting stuff done, which is completely fire, but really doing it from that heart-centered, deep emotional place. So I work with dragons often to balance my own internal elements, which is part of what you learn in the Connecting with Elementals 6-week class, is how to balance your own elements on a daily basis of what do I need and what do I need to call to me and what do I need to control a little bit better. So, like I really need a lot of earth. I need a lot of earth. I have very little earth in my chart. So my butt needs to be in nature. It needs to be barefoot on the ground. I need trees like I need water. And, so it's good to know these things. It's really good to know, how do I balance myself in the insanity?
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering if privately off air you could message me sometime today. Message me the elemental course. Message me the dates and times for England, if you could do all that. And then what I'll do is I'm going to use that information to do what I call bump the post. when I post in all these groups, I use, you know, certain things, like I may use your website as a comment after it's been there for a while. Then I can use this information to pop in everywhere too.
Perfect.
So that would be wonderful.
Okay.
But it's been a wonderful conversation, and you know, would you let everybody know again where they can find, you know, just where you feel comfortable, where they can go to find you, different outlets, and of course mention your website again, which we have, and of course we know you're on Facebook.
I am on Facebook, and it's I have a page, and it's Jenny Schiltz, spiritual guide. It's a very active page. I do a ton of postings on it. And then I can also keep you up to date on, like, I have interactive healing circles going on coming up at the end of this month and the beginning of September. You know, I'll have group calls that go out. So it's a great way to keep in touch with everything that's going on. Same with, you know, the website is www.jennyschiltz.com. And it's Schiltz. It's spelled a little differently. And there's a mailing list you can join. And I send out not only the blog posts where I detail, sometimes I do the energy updates, sometimes I just explain what's going on. Because often I find that my journey, as I share it, others are mirroring it. You know, they're experiencing something very, very similar. And then I'll also share like upcoming dates for things that you can join in on. And then on the website are services that I offer, whether it's one-on-one sessions, healing sessions, soul retrievals, that type of thing. So yeah, absolutely. Come and check it out. And I really hope that everyone love the nonstop talking, as I often do.
They do. I'm sure they will. I've had a lot of compliments on you from a couple. I'm not going to mention their names, but people that are pretty, a couple people that are pretty prominent in this industry that I talked to on the side, and they love your writing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I always get nervous because I really do pour my heart and soul into it, and I've been really honest and vulnerable. And I get nervous. I get nervous every time. I'm like, oh, do I share this? Do I not? And I always hear, just be real. There's other people who are growing and doing the same type of things that you are. And the way that you put it may make it so it makes sense for them.
Right. You need to, you just need to find yourself somebody someday, or find the time to this will really make you nervous, talking it out and then sending it out. But
I know I need to do more of the YouTube videos.
You do a YouTube video where you're just, you know, I wouldn't use your face on the ones where you're talking it through, because
I think I lost you. There you go.
You know, there I am. What I was going to say was, like, yeah, exactly. Like, if you had a YouTube channel and you talk these videos out, or these writings out that you do, they're so brilliant. Yeah, if you had your voice, or, you know, or your voice would be fine, but, or somebody else's voice that had the time to, like, if you had an assistant, like you were talking about looking for an assistant at one point, if you had an assistant that would be able to just talk your channelings out, you know, tell the name of it, give the credit to you and what you do, and then go through and narrate the whole thing all the way down. Because people's attention spans are so short nowadays. But if people listen, I'm telling you, if you want to really be enlightened, take the time to read her writings. Okay, they're very thorough. Every paragraph, you know, there's a lot to go through, but every single paragraph I've noticed of her writings, there's something in. It's not just minutia or junk space to fill up, you know, till the next good point. There's a good point in every paragraph, in almost every sentence that she writes and lays down. And I wanted to just say that to you, because
thank you.
Yeah, I was telling my fiance that Sif last night, that it's just that there's something in everything, every paragraph that you cover, or that you write, there is something. If you just were to read like one paragraph out of the myriad of them that you have on each writing, I mean, you're going to get something out of it. And I think it's just wonderful. And I'm really grateful that you came on the show. It's an honor to have you on here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And, you know, you can find her at jennyschiltz.com. You can find her on Facebook. We're going to put some more links up when we distribute this. Jenny, do you have anything else you want to say to the people out there before I close it up?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm very, very happy to be able to talk so freely with people and just relate in this way. So it's been quite a treat. I appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you. That's why I like to have people on here with experiences, because I like to have them share their experience. You know, I don't need to interrupt or interject or butt in all the time. I try not to as much as possible, but at the same time, without being completely mute. So sometimes I'll pop in with a question just to kind of do it, just to kind of be there. But you know, Jen could do her own show and talk and flow and give her updates and be perfect. I mean, you know what I mean? So I would encourage people out there to check her out, and we'll get her show posted and up here in a little bit. And if you didn't get to see it all, if you tuned in late, the whole thing will be on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter even. So with that being said, I'm going to just say real quick, I'm going to, instead of going through all my stuff, one thing, go to Facebook, Pleiadian groups and pages, not the group, but the page, and you can see all the groups that I've created and run on Facebook. If you're interested in donating, go to lockenlarry@paypal.com. You can sign in as a guest, and if you want to donate $1 to the Express, that's lockenlarry@gmail.com. And you know, it really helps. You know, not everybody can help out, but like, you know, look at all the work people like Jenny are doing and things like that. And it's not free, and it costs money to do. So, you know what I mean? It's, you know, she's very worth contributing to in whatever way that is possible. I would suggest, you know, maybe you setting up a reading with her if she does that. But, you know, and that's really all I got to say. And I thank Jen for being on the show. And with that, I'm going to end everything with a big positive kiss. And we are out of here.
Thank you, everybody.